Good morning, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Hog Hoops Live. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson. You can find me with the squad, Trey Biddy, Danny West, and Andrew Ellis over at HawgSports.com. The streak is snapped, people. 14 straight games, 27 years. But Arkansas has finally won a basketball game at Florida. You love to see it. We're going to talk about the big win over the Gators. We're going to preview this weekend's monster matchup with Kentucky. Take a look at the SEC race, a little bracketology. We're going to touch on some recruiting, a lot going on, and of course we'll get to your questions, all that and more, coming your way on Hog Hoops Live. And as always, I want to remind you guys of all the different ways you can watch and listen. Quick reminder, you know the drill. You can join us on Facebook Live. Be sure to give us a follow there. Also available on YouTube. Remember, Hog Hoops Live has its own separate YouTube page, so make sure you subscribe there. Going to be a lot of good content coming up. Getting ready to travel to Tampa for the SEC tournament, wherever Arkansas winds up for March Madness. We have live reactions, all those things there, so make sure you do that. For you podcast listeners, you can find us right where you find Hog Sports Live with Trey Biddy every week. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, you name it. Okay. I appreciate you guys joining me a little bit early, starting the show early. We got some ice coming in here to Fayetteville, so I don't know how much I trust my connection the more that this kind of builds up over the course of the day. And then also, not to kill you guys with personal details, but my fiance, she's been back home in New York. Her best friend is getting ready to pop. She just had her baby shower. My fiance was supposed to get home last night. Had a big flight snafu, didn't work out, so she's coming back this morning. She's going to land in about an hour. It's getting nasty out, so I want to be, available for that in case I need to go pick her up or something. But appreciate you guys tuning in a little bit early. That Florida game, man, that was fun, wasn't it? I mean, let's talk about it for a minute. The O-Dome in Gainesville, it's like a house of horrors for Arkansas. It really has been. Bad Razorback teams have gone in there and lost. Good Razorback teams have gone in there and gotten smacked around. It's just always kind of felt like when the Hogs are at Florida, they just don't play well. And the Gators typically have one of their better games. I'm not going to lie. It kind of felt like deja vu all over again right from the tip. Florida comes out. They stick 4 3-pointers in the first couple minutes. Arkansas looks a little disjointed. I think they started 2 of 9 from the field. A few turnovers in there. Suddenly, Florida goes up 12-4, and you're just wondering, what's going on? Like, are we going to really have this again? So you still kind of felt like the defense would wake up at some point for Arkansas, and it did a little bit, but as it turns out, offense was kind of the theme of the night, which was surprising, given Florida scores about 65 points per game. Arkansas is up and down as an offense team, but both teams are pretty good on the defensive end. So I was kind of expecting a game, maybe down in the 60s or possibly, even lower. But to Arkansas's credit, they're a team who, despite winning games, Arkansas shot under 35% in 3 of its last 4, but they looked really crisp, I thought, on the offensive end. 47% from the field in the first half. Arkansas hit 4 threes themselves, got a nice burst from Devo off the bench before he got in a little bit of foul trouble there in the first half. But Arkansas rallied back from that slow start. They took a 37-34 lead into halftime. Could have been better. They were up at 7 at one point there. But still, you feel pretty good about it. You go into halftime at Florida with a lead. If you're Arkansas, you're pretty pleased with what's going down. Really, it was the second half where things started getting kind of dicey there for a minute. There's a period of time, I'm not going to lie, I kind of felt like Arkansas was hitting the danger zone there a little bit, right? Got a little bit stagnant offensively. Colin Castleton, look, say what you want about that dude. He was whining the entire game, but he was dominant. He really feasted on Arkansas inside the entire night. And he started to kind of take over there for a period in the second half. They were going to him, feeding him inside every possession. That kid was something else. Talking to the officials really from the tip to the final horn. It's funny, we talk about Arkansas struggles in Gainesville, and I remember sitting there at one point in the second half, and Castleton's posting up Jalen Williams, and he's camped out in the lane the entire possession. And Jalen Williams, he's trying to get the officials' attention, like, dude, 3-second violation. Like, he's being camped out in here. And the ref's not paying attention. All of a sudden, they dump it into Castleton. He makes a little post move and gets this phantom and one foul call in the basket. Jay Wills is straight up as you could possibly be. And I'm just sitting there thinking, this is the most Arkansas at Florida thing I've ever seen. Like here we go again. But whatever. You got Jalen Williams in foul trouble at that point. He was already struggling a little bit with Castleton, but he's the best line of defense and really playing well elsewhere in the game. All of a sudden, Arkansas is down 6 points. Jalen picks up his fourth foul. There's 7 minutes to go. Florida's in the double bonus. It didn't feel ideal. But this Arkansas team, man, I tweeted after the game, there's just no more words to describe the grit and the toughness, the resiliency that this group has. Look, that was kind of a recipe for disaster, but how did Arkansas respond? As usual, it started with defense. So, Florida, they got to the free throw line a few times, don't get me wrong, but they didn't score a bucket from the field from the 7:25 mark, they were up 6, to the 1:26 mark. So 6 minutes without giving up a bucket by Arkansas. Meanwhile, they have a flurry offensively. Au'Diese Toney finally got going a little bit, finishing around the rim. You love to see that. He was in a 2 of 20 slump. And then he finally started to get some of those shots around the rim to go. That was big for him. Stanley Amude sticks he's got a big dunk. He hits a massive 3. Jalen Williams hits a big 3 of his own. He scores on a pick and roll. Devo's flying around all over the place. Arkansas builds up. They come back, take the lead. They build up a 2-possession lead. Castleton, man, he had 29 points on the night. He gets them back within 1 before J.D. Notae sticks that absolute dagger 3 with about a minute left to extend it back out. Devo gets the exclamation point dunk. He picks up the tech for slapping the backboard. Who cares? It was worth it. Hogs win 82-74. Just a great game. And it was it's such a gritty performance. I mean, this is a Florida team that was desperate for a win. Firmly on the bubble. They need some more resume wins. They just beat Auburn in that same arena a couple days ago. For Arkansas to go in there and get that done, that speaks volumes about where this team is at from a cohesive standpoint and just their overall mental makeup. It's really impressive. They're 22-6 at this point, 11-4 in the SEC. I mean, this team is something else. Devo was terrific, 19 points. He hit 2 more threes, getting really comfortable out there. His percentage is up over 30 on the season, which you think, oh, cool. But considering where it was, that's really good. That's a positive sign for Arkansas. I love seeing him attacking, finishing with that left hand again. He looked more comfortable than he has in a long time, putting it on the deck, driving it, and finishing with that left. He's hard to stop when he's doing that. 6 rebounds. He made some really, really high difficulty passes. So he's locked in right now. He's seeing the floor. He's playing within the flow of the game. He's defending again. Listen, Arkansas goes from a dangerous team to a lethal team if you get March 2021 Devo back. And that's what he was at Florida. J.D. Notae had a team-high 22 points. He was efficient, didn't turn it over, had 3 assists. He hit some big threes. We talked about the big one there at the end. But I also like seeing him take it off the bounce, being aggressive, getting to the rack, absorbing some contact and finishing a little bit better. And he also showed the ability to be effective off the ball. Devo ran the point at times throughout the course of the game, and they were trying to get up, and pressure in the passing lanes. They were trying to deny the wing pass over to Notae. So he read it and he backdoored him for layups a couple times. That's good recognition by J.D. Notae there. Jalen Williams, listen, Castleton kind of gave him the business there pretty good. So he struggled some with that length, but he made him work, and it was a lot of one-on-one, which is tough in that situation, especially when you're playing through foul trouble. But I thought Jalen did a really good job when he had 3 and 4 fouls of defending making Castleton work. He mixed in a charge in there. When you're going up against a guy like that and you're in foul trouble and you're so critical to the success of the team, there's a fine line between continuing to play hard and be effective and not pick up that foul, not get over aggressive. And I thought he towed that line really well. Made some huge plays at the end. He had 3 more charges. He had the game-sealing steal with about 24 seconds left. Look, at the end of the day, Castleton might have won that individual battle. Jalen Williams won the war in the game. So a job well done. I thought Stanley Amude and Aldis Toney, mentioned Toney a little bit too. I thought they both made some key plays as well. Just a tough, gritty, kind of a vintage Arkansas win. And most importantly, it sets the stage now for the one that's been circled since the schedule came out, right? Good old John Calipari in Kentucky coming to town on Saturday. It's going to be wild. What I love about this, Arkansas, who, by the way, Arkansas is now 11-0 this season with 2 or fewer days of preparation between games. So they've been playing the Saturday-Tuesday schedule that gives them Sunday and Monday to prep. When they have that, or less, because they played the back-to-backs at the Hall of Fame Classic, whatever, 11-0. So that's impressive. So you almost kind of wish they played tonight, but this is good. Arkansas played on Tuesday. They get an extra day of rest and prep built in here. Kentucky has a home game tonight, Wednesday night. They host LSU, who, look, I think they should probably beat LSU at home, but the Tigers are really tough defensively. They could grind on them a little bit, and then Kentucky has to travel. So those things benefit Arkansas on top of playing at home on Saturday, naturally. Listen, Kentucky's good. They're 22-5, 11-3 in the SEC. They're a half game up on Arkansas for second place currently in the league standings. I think you need to keep an eye on their backcourt in this LSU game, see what's going on there. Both their point guards didn't play over the weekend. They're questionable at the moment. So Xavier Wheeler, you remember him. He's the Georgia transfer, little guy, super quick, great defender, one of the best passers in the country. He really makes things go for him. He's been nursing, I think, a wrist injury. And then Ty Washington, who's one of the better freshmen in the nation this season, incredibly talented guard. He's been kind of banged up throughout SEC play, but he's been battling through an ankle injury of late. So, I don't know. Calipari's listing them as day-to-day. I think we could probably expect them both to play against Arkansas, given how that typically goes, but you never know. So something to keep an eye on. We'll see if they play against LSU this evening. Kentucky's really tough to beat with both of those guys completely healthy, but they did beat Alabama without both of them over the weekend. It's an impressive game. Alabama came out, and I think they started 9 of 12 from 3, something crazy. It was at Rupp, but Kentucky did a good job without 2 of their better guards of just kind of weathering that storm, and they wound up winning by 9 points. But, they've got a lot of talent. Obviously a lot of buzz will be around the big man, right? Oscar Tshiebwe. This dude's a load, 6'9", 255. He's a West Virginia transfer. I think they knew he was going to be good, but maybe not this good. This guy's a front runner probably for National Player of the Year. He's averaging 16.4 points and 15.2 rebounds per game. That's crazy. That's nuts. The dude has been held under 10 rebounds twice this season. He's gone over 20 rebounds 5 times this season. So just a nose for the ball, very strong and physical, athletic. He's going to be a load inside. Jalen Williams, man, congrats, bud. You get to go from welcome to the SEC. You go from Walker Kessler to John Fulkerson to Colin Castleton, now to Tshiebwe. Nobody wants to defend Jalen Williams either, but man, there's some really, really talented bigs in this league. And, I think Jalen and Tshiebwe, it's going to be a great matchup. Jalen Williams got 10 double-doubles himself this season, 5 in a row. He's averaging 1 in SEC play. So, going to be a big matchup. Got to keep him out of foul trouble. Kellen Grady is probably a name to be pretty familiar with when it comes to Kentucky. Davidson transfer. We know Davidson's a strong program. But he's a wing who scored over 2,000 career points. dead-eye shooter. He's 45% from the three-point line this year. He's made 82 on the season. So high volume, high efficiency. He's a guy that Arkansas is going to have to find in transition. We see J.D. Notae with that just subtle shot fake, sidestep dribble, and he knocks down that three all the time. Grady does that too. So, Arkansas is going to have to contain that guy. He's averaging in double figures. They've got some other returners from last year. Keon Brooks, kind of a stretch forward guy, 6'7", 6'8". Davion Mintz, who ran the point for him last year, he really stepped in nicely in that Alabama game for Kentucky. A veteran, he can shoot it. Jacob Toppin. So, all those guys add some depth and balance. And look, this is not last year's 9-16 Kentucky team. They're a legit national championship contender. Arkansas did win at Rupp last year. That was cool. When's the last time Arkansas beat Kentucky at home? Was that the Qualls dunk? I think it was. So it's been several years since Arkansas has beaten Kentucky in Bud Walton Arena. Probably only played a handful of times, but this is going to be a wild one. Kentucky's number 3 in the net rankings, number 2 in KenPom. Pretty solid across the board. They're number 4 in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency, number 21 in adjusted defensive efficiency. Auburn beat them at Auburn, but I kind of feel like Kentucky's the better team than the Auburn Tigers when healthy, and that's kind of been the big thing for them. But Bud Walton Arena is going to be absolutely stupid for this one, right? Saturday, 1 p.m., CBS game. The younger generation, the students, they've been unbelievable all season. The last 2 home atmospheres have been among the best I've ever been a part of. The Auburn one is the best. I think this game's going to be a red-white stripe out, like a section-by-section deal. That's cool. The students are doing the shark and saw thing in the shark costumes, which I think is awesome. But the thing about this one, and the older generation of the fan base has been great as well, but I know that, for the old heads out there, love you guys, the hatred of Kentucky runs deep with them. It really does. So a hostile environment coming up. And we all remember Muss's first season when Kentucky came to Fayetteville. It was so loud, their players were plugging their ears. Cal got ejected. But somehow Kentucky rallied, won that basketball game. I remember, Cal got ejected. All of a sudden, Kentucky went to a zone, and it just changed everything. They actually built up a pretty good lead, and Arkansas made a run there late, but came up short. But Muss refers to that game a lot when it comes to these big home games, just how he's learned from it, has used that to kind of teach the guys how to not get too caught up in the hype, not to expend too much energy emotionally in the build-up leading up to the game and early in the game. I think Arkansas has been really good about just keeping an even keel, steady approach in these crazy environments that they've been playing in. That's difficult to do. It's going to be important again on Saturday against Kentucky. Let's have a little bracketology fun. I got my credentials approved, flight and hotel booked for the SEC tournament in Tampa in a couple weeks. I'm really excited about that. I'm glad it's in Tampa. I enjoyed the Nashville experience, and I like that it's there for the most part. But Tampa, it's nice to get some sun, right? Things are looking good in the league standings right now. Arkansas has a 3-game lead with 3 games to play on 5th place Alabama. It's kind of a cluster of teams in fighting for that number 5 spot. But what that means is unless Arkansas loses out and a team or two wins out, the Hogs are going to get that double bye, and they won't have to play until Friday in the SEC tournament, the quarterfinal round. That's a big deal. Like you don't want to have to play 4 games in 4 days to win a crown, because then you worry about your legs going into the tournament the next week. I get it, but you get in there on a Friday, win 3 in a row, get an SEC tournament championship. It'd be fun. But they're in a good spot, and it should be another opportunity or two to get a quality game, quad 1 game or so in there. Arkansas is still alive for the regular season crown. 2 games behind Auburn, a half game behind Kentucky for second place. What's interesting about this, though, is that the top 4 teams in the league, they all play each other this weekend, so it could get really interesting. You know, if Arkansas wins at home against Kentucky and Tennessee wins at home against Auburn, then you have a really interesting cluster right there, because you'd have, I guess at that point, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee would all be at 12-4, and then you'd have Auburn at 13-3 with a couple games left. So, I mean, sign me up for that. That final week would be a lot of fun. And bracketology-wise, you know, hey, as pumped as I am for Arkansas improving that postseason resume, you know, increasing their seed, there's some cool matchups out there. You know, I talked about it last week. Like, there's a lot of different possibilities for the destinations where Arkansas could go. So, you know, if you're a fan, that's something else that you're looking at. Like, not just the seed and who they might be playing, but where the heck is Arkansas going to go? Because it's not all at Indianapolis this year. They're not in the bubble. You've got all the different regional sites. So a lot of possibilities. You know, Joe Lunardi, ESPN bracketology, and a lot of this was before this Florida game, but has Arkansas as a 6 seed playing the Michigan-Memphis winner playing game. That could be fun. In Greenville, South Carolina. All right. Jerry Palm has Arkansas as a 6 seed playing Indiana in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The USA Today has Arkansas as a 5 seed playing the Indiana versus San Diego State winner in Buffalo, New York. A couple guys who are a little bit under the radar, but are probably two of the best bracketologists out there. Bracketville Dave, he's got Arkansas as a 5 seed playing BYU or Michigan in Buffalo. Tristan Harkins with Heat Check has him as a 6 seed playing Loyola in Milwaukee. So, you know, a lot of different possibilities right there. All very much subject to change, of course, but it's fun to keep an eye on. You know, I think I kind of ticked everybody off on our message board this morning by posting the net update. Somehow, some way, Arkansas stayed put at number 23 in the net rankings after picking up a quad 1 road win at Florida. I was kind of surprised to see that, and I understand, like, the closer you get to the top, I guess, the harder it is to make a significant push, a bump. I mean, that's a quad 1 road win. Like, that's about as good as it gets, and they stayed put. I think what surprised me the most about it was Tennessee moves up from 11-9 for winning at Missouri. So, I don't know, but Arkansas doesn't win or doesn't budge after winning at Florida. I don't know. They're not getting cheated. I mean, these aren't people who are doing these rankings. I mean, it's a mathematical formula, right? But it seems like it's kind of flawed because it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Oh, well. At the end of the day, we talk a lot about the net rankings because it's a big tool that they use for seeding, but that's not the end-all, be-all. The selection committee is made up of humans who are going to factor in a lot of things, with net being a big part of it. So, opportunities for Arkansas, I think, to really help itself out. You know, closing the regular season, 3 more quad 1 games. We talked about it. Kentucky at home, LSU at home, and then on the road at Tennessee to close out the regular season. Who knows what you'll get in the SEC tournament. So can they play their way? I think probably after last night, they're pretty squarely on the 5 line in terms of seeding. Can they play their way to a 4? Yeah. 3? I don't know. I was messing around with the simulator on Torvik, and I think I had them win out the rest of the regular season, beat Alabama and Auburn again in the SEC tournament, and I think that bumped them to a 3 seed. That's obviously easier said than done. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I want to touch on a little bit of recruiting. I know there's probably a lot of questions about that. You know, even with all the buzz surrounding the Razorbacks team right now, one of the top things that people care about is whether or not Eric Musselman's going to land Anthony Black, right? I mean, I write a story about Arkansas winning a game, and 99% of the comments are about Anthony Black. I get it. He's a hooper, right? For those who aren't aware, maybe you're living under a rock, but Anthony he's the only uncommitted 5-star prospect that's left in the 2022 class. Number 14 overall in the country, the top-rated point guard in the country, recently named a McDonald's All-American. This dude is really, really good, right? Plays for a stacked Duncanville team in Texas. He's a 6'7" lead guard, Probably more of a playmaker than a scorer, in my opinion. He's got great court vision. He's an excellent passer, switchable defender. He can score it when he needs to. Anthony Black's got the goods. He's nice, right? So to make a long story short, I mean, I've been asked about Anthony Black on this show pretty much every episode of the season. If you go back and listen, and the message has really always kind of been the same. He took his official visit to Arkansas for Must Bus Mania back on September 18th. It was around that Georgia Southern football game. And then his recruitment kind of got put on the back burner as he dealt with this weird transfer eligibility issue with his high school. And it kind of put that stuff on, to the side for a while. Oklahoma State, Gonzaga had been the two schools that have really been generating the most buzz for months. The G League emerged as a pretty viable option. But Arkansas has just sort of quietly hung out behind the scenes, remained persistent, and kept themselves in the mix. We've talked about it here before. The Hogs already have the number 2 class in the country, 2 5-stars. They're loaded up regardless. But when you're in the conversation with a guy like that, you stay the course, even if maybe you're not, necessarily the perceived leader, because you never know what can happen with time. And, Oklahoma State's had this postseason ban that they're dealing with. Gonzaga's having a great season. Spokane, that's a long way from Texas, right? And I'm not saying those schools are out of it by any means, but, if you take a look at Arkansas, they're close in distance. The team obviously is rolling now. We talked about what time can do. I remember how they were struggling in December and January, but look at Arkansas now. They're one of the most trending programs in the country. He's buddies with Nick Smith Jr., Jordan Walsh. They've been recruiting him. So all of a sudden, you start to see that maybe, Anthony Black's closing in on a decision. And then out of nowhere last week, we find out he's taking an unofficial visit to Arkansas for the Tennessee game. That's huge, right? A potential game changer. And he was in the house with his mom and a couple others this past weekend. Listen, it was very clear that they enjoyed themselves, got to take in a game, experience the atmosphere. I just feel like that's different. That you get a lot out of an official visit, obviously, and this was just an unofficial. But it's different for a basketball recruit to go to a football game than it is to go to a basketball game and experience, the environment, the build-up to the game, be around the team, that you could potentially be playing for in a year. So I think that was super beneficial. It's just a different type of experience. And if you read the tea leaves, it sounds like AB, he might want to announce a commitment somewhere around that McDonald's All-American game at the end of March. We'll see if that's the case or if maybe something happens before then. But regardless, listen, a week ago, I would have told you the same thing I've been telling you, that it wasn't over, but the chance is probably not great for Arkansas. Today, I'm more confident than I've ever been about Arkansas's chances in this race. So much more optimistic. And listen, this weekend is shaping up to be another important one for the future as well. Kentucky game, it's going to be a wild atmosphere. We know that. And really, it's the last Saturday home game of the season. So kind of the last chance to get some recruits maybe in the building. It is a little bit challenging, though, because, well, for one, we've got some weather going on right now. I don't know what that's going to wind up meaning. But a lot of these guys are playing their postseason right now. So it kind of depends on when their games are, if they win, if they lose, who they play next, as to whether or not, certain guys are going to be able to make it to campus. So we'll see. I think that there's a list that could change significantly between now and Saturday. It could shorten, it could grow. We don't really know. So we'll see. But hey, Nick Smith Jr., Jordan Walsh, they're scheduled to be in the house. I absolutely love that those guys keep showing up. They've already been embraced. They're embracing Arkansas. Man, it's going to be a fun team to watch next year, isn't it? Laden Blocker out of the class of 2023, major priority prospect. He took an unofficial visit over the summer. 6'2" point guard, high 4-star, top 40 type guy. This is an Arkansas native. He's playing at Sunrise Christian in Kansas, which is the number 1 high school program in the country, and he's a major contributor for them. His brother Landron, who's a very talented 2024 prospect, they're scheduled to be in attendance right now for the Kentucky game. Also out of the 2023 class, you've got 6'9" forward Brandon Garrison out of Del City, Oklahoma, 4-star. He's the number 6 center in the 2023 class, big boy. Guy who took an unofficial visit for the Little Rock game in December. Arkansas formally offered him a couple weeks ago. Now he's coming back for this game. Super talented players. So going to be some studs in the building. A few other names floating around. Again, nothing confirmed just yet. We're kind of in wait-and-see mode, with guys' schedules and things. So we'll see what they come up with. But, with success breeds more success. And so you know what Arkansas is doing on the hardwood right now. Recruits take notice of that. All right. Let's hop over to the chat. See what we got going on here. Adrian Jones says, Devo is the great 6-man JD was last year. He's turning into that, isn't he? It's kind of funny, coming into the season, a lot of people were thinking, well, maybe Note just needs to come off the bench again. He was so good at it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But he's done, obviously, really well in his starting role. And for a while, that 6-man was Chris Likes. He was coming off, giving some scoring pop there off of the bench. And, Arkansas just continued to tweak until they found the right combinations that work. And Devo being that 6-man, it took him a while to kind of get things going. But, wow, the last 3 or 4 games, he's been really good. And I asked him last night after the game if he thought that, this Florida performance was his most complete game of the year, and it seemed like he kind of agreed that it was. I just thought he was fantastic in all facets of the game, really. Keith Bolger says, recruiting class looks good, but no big man. If Jay Will leaves early, they're in trouble. Well, yes and no. Yeah, Jalen Williams is certainly kind of playing his way into the conversation for some professional opportunities. We'll see what happens there. If I was him, I would probably enter my name into the draft and at least get feedback and maintain your eligibility where you can come back if you want to. But I think either way, Arkansas is going to be active in the transfer portal. Don't forget about that portal now. And I think they're going to be an attractive destination for some top-end guys because they see the recruiting classes coming in. They see the success that Arkansas has been having. So, if I'm a transfer big man with 1 year left and I'm looking to get some exposure and help myself and win a lot of games, Arkansas is probably a place I'd like to go to. So they'll figure it out. Jackie Price says, yeah, the announcer said he reached in, but his hands were straight up. You must be talking about the Jalen Williams thing. Yeah, come on. He was straight up. Listen, some of those fouls, fine. It's whatever. But that one in particular, the kid was just parked in the lane. It had to have been for 8 seconds. And to just overlook that and then call a phantom foul and give him an and one, whew, that was rough. Tim Eskew says, one thing is for sure, it's going to be rocking and rolling in Bud Walton Arena when Kentucky comes to town Saturday. Probably the biggest UK at Arkansas matchup since 1995. Kentucky was number 5 and Arkansas was number 9 in the AP poll. Yeah, it's a big one. It's going to be a really big one. I'm excited. Kind of wish I could just, watch as a fan, but, I got to write about it and talk about it. What a tough job, huh? That's going to be great. Wes Glass says, who on the roster has the option to come back and who do you think will be back? So I probably need to pull up the roster to be super accurate on this, but Stanley Amude, Chris Likes, Trey Wade are all graduate seniors. So this is their last year of eligibility. They don't have the option to come back. The other guys all do, essentially, and that includes guys who are technically seniors like J.D. Note and Aldis Toney. I've heard some back and forth on both of those guys. I would love to have both of them back. I don't necessarily expect that to happen, especially with JD. But you never know. I think NIL has kind of been a game changer because, the older guys they do want to go, make some money while they can, right? Because you can only play basketball for so long. But when you can make money, doing it as a star in college, That could change things a little bit, but I still think in the grand scheme of things, the money you make, in a year or two with an NIL deal, which is going to go away when you leave, probably pales in comparison to what you could do with a 6, 7, 8 year career in Europe or whatever. So, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Note and Tony could both come back, or one of the two. I don't necessarily foresee it, and Musselman usually encourages guys to start their pro career if they have, the chops to do it, but we'll see what happens. Landon Montgomery says, can we get past Kentucky? I said it in my live reaction thing after Tennessee. I'm not betting against Arkansas again, period, for anything, whether that's a basketball game or a recruiting battle or whatever. Eric Musselman just continues to prove people wrong, and they find a way. Can Arkansas beat Kentucky in Bud Walton Arena? Absolutely. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. It's going to be fun to watch. Jackie Price says the fan base was trying to fire Muss earlier in the season. It's funny. People were getting a little ticked off there for a while. He missed on all these transfers. He's stubborn, play this guy, play that guy, whatever. We just got to trust the process. The Muss bus goes at its own pace, Landon Montgomery says, dang, that Bama game was crucial. Would have been nice to squeak that one out. Yeah, it's interesting. I think in terms of resume, like that, the freaking Hofstra game and the Vanderbilt game, are the ones that hold Arkansas back a little bit, which, listen, neither one of those teams are bad. They're both top 100 in the net, but they are quad 3, in terms of losses there. But when you talk to Eric Musselman, and he's probably done this to me a half dozen times, where I'll ask him, just his thoughts after a game or thoughts after a particular road win or whatever, and he'll answer, but he always goes back to that Alabama game. Oh, we felt like we could have won that when we lost by 1. You can tell it kind of sticks in his craw a little bit. He'd probably like to see Alabama again, maybe at the SEC tournament. But yeah, had they won that one, what would the streak be up to now? They won 12 or 13, so I guess it'd be 13 in a row. Would have been another big road win for the resume. They had their chances there. They really did. Yes, I'm glad you posted this. Adrian Jones says, JD, listen to this. This is crazy. It's kind of weird. JD had 22 points on 2-22-22, giving the Hogs their 22nd win of the season. That is weird. That's crazy. What a great stat. Nathan Post says, is Note's NIL an incentive for him to return and move up to a first-round pick? His NIL is probably an incentive to return. Why wouldn't it be? I don't know that he's a guy that could play himself into a first-round conversation. Maybe he could play himself into draft pick conversation if he were to really embrace the point guard role, because he is a little smaller, at 6'1", 6'2", so that would have to be his position as a pro. Obviously, he can score it. He's developed as a defender. So, he could probably help himself by coming back, or he could go to Europe and score 25 points a game and see if he could make his way back over stateside and play pro. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, like I said a minute ago, that NIL stuff, it is a factor that these guys have to consider now, which is good if you're a fan of college basketball. Jason L. Downing says Devo was the difference in that win last night. I would agree. Chris Dawson says Jalen repping that Ford Smith. Yeah. And then, to go back to Devo, repping Jacksonville, won that battle against Tyree Appleby, Jacksonville native, who had a pretty nice game, especially the first half. Jeff Smith says Woo Pig from Texarkana. Appreciate you tuning in. Joseph Marquez says, Devo has been so important in this win streak. He's playing great. Yeah, we talked about it. The last 3 or 4 games, he's really been a difference maker. And, that 3-point shooting, that catch and shoot, Man, it looks a lot better. He made an adjustment there. He really did. And that looks a lot better than when he kind of forces them off the dribble. To me, if Devo's going to put it on the deck, he needs to get 15 and in, because he can really pull up off the dribble and knock down that mid-range. He can get to the rim and finish with that left hand. But beyond the arc, man, run hard off those screens, float to the open space, catch, shoot, and drill it. And he's been doing a great job of that. MP Rich says, come to San Diego. Listen, of all the the possible destinations for the first 2 rounds, I want to go to San Diego. And you know, Fort Worth would probably be the best, right, for fans to show up and create a little bit of a home court advantage type of feel. Man, send me to San Diego. Sign me up for that. I don't want to go from Tampa to somewhere cold, personally. I want to go to Milwaukee, Buffalo. Although I might sneak over into Canada. Check that out if we get to go to Buffalo. Niagara Falls. I mean, that would be kind of cool as long as there's not 2 feet of snow or something crazy. But I say that, and I'm sitting here in Fayetteville right now watching whatever's going on outside my window pile up. Sleet, snow, ice. I don't know what in the world it is. Matt Bounce says, I was at the game in Gainesville last night. Awesome. Good for you, by the way. Devo's intensity last night in person was very impressive. He looked like he was on another level with his speed. He never stops. Go Hogs. Yeah. That was, how many times have we said, Devo Davis of last year or vintage Devo or whatever. Well, that's it, right? That's what we were really looking for. Reggie Allen says, wish we could see more of KK Robinson. Seems like every time he makes one mistake, Must takes him out. While likes make several and still gets to stay in the game, really hope stays and maybe plays more next season. If not, I see him transferring. Yeah, I mean, look, at this point, it's like I want KK to succeed as much as anybody, right? But right now, I mean, Arkansas has won 12 out of 13. I mean, they're rolling. They've done it with this group of 8 guys, and that includes Chris Likes, and people call him, mistake prone and turnover prone. He's 6th on the team in turnovers. He's had more than 1 turnover in 2 of the last 15 games. So, I mean, I don't really understand that one, but he has his defensive shortcomings. He's made strides to improve. In that area. Florida kind of took advantage of him with their size in the backcourt last night. That's going to happen sometimes. He made a 3, had a great drop-off pass to Stanley Mude for a dunk. I just don't know that you really go tweaking things in the rotation, given how good this team is playing right now. But it's like Muss has said, those guys who aren't playing, especially as you get deeper into the year, you don't want to wear guys out, so you're not practicing going live as much. So how much extra work are they putting in the gym, in the film room to stay focused and ready? That way they can come in and do their job if their number's called. And KK got that opportunity against Tennessee. He came in for a couple minutes there. Arkansas had some foul trouble, and he did a good job. Didn't do anything crazy, impressive. Didn't do anything too bad. He did get pulled after making that high pass. But whatever. He got that opportunity, and he took advantage of it. And, knock on wood, Arkansas has won rolled ankle or whatever away from needing a guy like that to really step up. So, he's got to stay focused and have the right mindset, and I'm sure that he does. You rolled off on me. There we go. Alan Smith says, nobody likes to lose, but the early losses to OU, Hofstra, etc. is likely an important positive component in their late season success. They learned valuable lessons. True. They learned a lot from that, like the importance of defending on the ball and the three-point line, because they've made some, and in the pick and roll. If you go back, I don't know if I would want to subject myself to this. I might go back and watch the Oklahoma and Hofstra games and just watch the defense and then watch some of the games from the last week or two. It's just a completely different team. Completely different team. It's crazy. Reggie Allen says KK was a high-end recruit that was injured last season and since been on ice. Yeah, I mean, he was a top 50 guy. He did battle through that injury, and it took him into the summer to recover. And he was in and out for a while in the preseason. From a health standpoint, I think he's fine now. But he had a foot fracture, but other guys have ACL tears and things like that, and it does take a while. In Tommy John surgery for a pitcher, it's usually the next year where they're really back to 100%, right, in terms of the way that they move and play. So, that could absolutely play a little bit of a factor in it. He's going to be fine. Brian Ford says maybe it was just me, but the ball movement was so good, especially the second half of the game. They're playing as a team. Yeah, super balanced effort. I mean, 5 guys scoring double figures. When you have that kind of balance, that's really good. Shot 46% from the field, shot nearly 40% from three-point range, and got to the free throw line 20 times and made 17. The best thing about it to me was they had 13 assists and just 6 turnovers on the road. And so they played 2 good defensive teams that come up with a lot of steals now in Tennessee at home and Florida on the road, and they've had 6 turnovers in both of those games. That's really, really good. I mean, there was a string of games there, even in this winning streak for Arkansas, where a guy like, J.D. Notae, he'd have 5 turnovers by himself. He'd score a bunch of points and play defense and everything else, but that's quite the turnaround in the last couple games, and that type of ball security. It's really important for a team that doesn't shoot the 3 necessarily as good as other teams. Well, how do you counteract that? It's by making sure you get a shot on goal every possession and you're not turning it over. So, yeah, you're right. That's a very important factor. And Brian Ford says Hofstra is 19-9 right now. Just saying, you're right. They could very easily win their league, and we knew Hofstra was good before Arkansas played them. And then they took Houston to overtime. They lost by 2 at Maryland. They played Iona, who we know is really good under Rick Pitino, to a 2-possession game. They're a good team. Now, Arkansas shouldn't have lost to them, but they did. But listen, they're top 100 in the net. Hofstra is higher in the net rankings than I think 3 or 4 SEC teams. So still a quad 3 loss, and just by name recognition alone, people look at it and go, Arkansas lost to who? But they're not bad. They're really not. Okay. Looks like we made it through most of the comments here. All right. I think it's going to wrap us up. Just a fantastic win for Arkansas at Florida. Long time coming. I know that felt good for a lot of people. It certainly did me. I mean, I was probably, 6 years old or something the last time that happened. So, nice work by the Hogs. 22-6, 11-4. They're rolling right now. Absolutely monster game coming up against Kentucky. Saturday, 1 o'clock, CBS. Tune in. If you can get there, get there. It's going to be a great time. Arkansas follows up with the midweek. I believe that's a Wednesday game against LSU, which means this show will return on Thursday next week. We'll talk about that and get you all primed up for the return trip to Tennessee, which, by the way, got a little orange on the collar here. If you can see, shout out to Rick Barnes. I'm sure he's complaining about charges somewhere. Appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, this has been Curtis Wilkerson with HawgSports.com. We will catch you next time.